Ladies and gentlemen, sons and daughters of purpose, you were born looking like your parents, but you were designed to die looking like your assignment. You are not an accident. You are a strategy. Before you were formed in your mother's womb, God spoke a kalenua into the atmosphere, a divine timeline that included today. I'm here to declare to the chosen ones, heaven has made an announcement. God has released a major update on your life software. And it's not a beta version, it's the full release. It's happening. To everything there is a season and a time for every purpose under heaven. Ecclesiastes 3:1. This is your season of announcement. This is not the time to explain yourself. This is the time for manifestation. You are not random. You are risen. Those words may sound poetic, but they are prophetic. They are not just inspiration, they are identification. You have been identified in the mind of God, not as a mistake, not as an afterthought, but as a chosen instrument for a divine assignment. Long before your mother knew your name, long before your father ever held you, God had already authored your existence with purpose and intention. Destiny does not begin the day you take your first breath. It begins in the eternal mind of God. Before time wrapped itself around the earth, before the stars found their place in the sky, you are already seen, known, and ordained. Your life is not the outcome of a random sequence of events. You are not here because the universe rolled the dice and somehow landed on you. You are here because the architect of the universe made a decision. God does not create without reason. He does not form without a future in mind. You are the product of divine vision. The world may try to define you by where you were born, by who raised you, by what you lack, or by what you've lost. But heaven doesn't consult your past to confirm your purpose. When God made you, He did not start with your weaknesses. He started with your assignment. You were crafted to carry something eternal. That's why you feel the tension, the restlessness, the sense that there is more. Because there is more. You were not made to merely exist. You were made to manifest something sacred. Many people go through life never knowing why they're here. They chase success but lack meaning. They achieve goals but feel empty. Why? Because true fulfillment can only be found in alignment with the reason for your creation. And the truth is, you don't create your own purpose. You discover the purpose your Creator already embedded in you. God is not figuring you out as you go along. He's not surprised by your circumstances. He wrote the script of your life before you ever auditioned for the stage. You've been through things that should have destroyed you. You've survived seasons that seemed designed to silence you. Yet here you are, still breathing, still pushing, still believing, even if only with a whisper. That alone is evidence. Evidence that you are not ordinary. You are not disposable. You are not invisible. You are chosen. And chosen people often experience chosen pain, not because God is cruel, but because greatness cannot be developed in comfort. You see, diamonds are made under pressure, and so are destinies. God has to take you through a process because what He placed inside of you cannot be rushed. The rejection you faced wasn't punishment, it was protection. The doors that closed were not denials, they were directions. The delays weren't denials, they were divine detours, meant to prepare you for where you're about to go. God never wastes pain. He repurposes it to reveal the strength He placed in you before the world knew your name. There are people who have counted you out because they only saw your beginning. But what they didn't see was the divine intention behind your life. They didn't see the anointing that's been growing in silence. They didn't see the private battles you've overcome. the tears you cried in isolation, the prayers you prayed when no one was watching. But heaven saw, God saw, and while others were sleeping on you, God was working in you. You have been asking, why me? But the real question is, why not you? Why wouldn't God choose you? He doesn't pick the most popular, He picks the most prepared. And sometimes preparation looks like obscurity. Sometimes it looks like pain. But preparation is always evidence that purpose is near. You are not the exception to the rule. You are the rule breaker. You are the proof that God still raises people from low places to high places, that He still calls the unlikely and qualifies the unqualified. When heaven looks at you, it does not see a failure. It sees a vessel. It sees potential wrapped in pressure. It sees promise wrapped in process. You are God's strategy for this generation. There's a reason you didn't die in what you went through. There's a reason the enemy tried so hard to break you. He saw what was on you even when you didn't. He saw the oil before you recognized the altar. And so He sent storms, but the storm didn't bury you. It built you. It didn't define you. It revealed you. Even when you doubted yourself, God never did. Even when you lost confidence, God never lost His covenant. He still called you. He still believes in what He placed in you. You are not chasing purpose. Purpose is chasing you. Every closed door, every no, every delay has only positioned you to collide with the moment God ordained before you ever arrived on earth. You are not a mistake trying to find meaning. You are a miracle waiting to manifest. God has not forgotten you. He has been waiting for you to see what He already sees. When you look in the mirror, don't look for your flaws. Look for your Father's fingerprint. Because His fingerprint is your evidence. You are marked. You are molded. You are risen. Not because life has been easy, but because God has been faithful. And now you're standing in a moment where everything begins to make sense. The pieces that didn't fit are forming a picture. The setbacks that felt like detours are proving to be launch pads. The questions are starting to find their answers. Not because the storm stopped, but because your eyes are now open. Open to the reality that you were never random. You were always called, always seen, always chosen. There is a time for everything, a time to be hidden and a time to be revealed, a time to be processed and a time to be presented, a time to wait and a time to walk through the door that no man can shut. But the most liberating truth you must embrace today is this: heaven's calendar has no delays. What feels like a delay in your life is never a delay in the realm of God's sovereignty. You live inside time, but God lives above it. Time submits to Him. Appointments obey Him. Destiny aligns with Him. God is never early and He is certainly never late. When He moves with purpose. When He speaks, creation must respond. When He declares, angels mobilize. And when He says now, no force in hell or on earth can interfere. That's why you must be careful not to mislabel your season. What you call delay, God calls development. What you call stagnation, God calls strategy. Because if it hasn't happened yet, it's not because God forgot. It's because He's finalizing the divine setup for your moment of release. So many people grow weary because they look at clocks instead of covenants. They track their life based on age, stage, and comparisons. They ask, why hasn't it happened for me yet? Why did they get it before I did? Why does it feel like I'm behind? But let me remind you, you are not behind. You are becoming. God does not schedule your purpose based on popularity or pressure. He does not consult the trends of culture to confirm the timing of your transformation. Heaven's calendar is not governed by your anxiety. It is ruled by divine accuracy. God is not in a rush. He's in control. When He said, "Let there be light," the sun had no choice but to shine. When He said, "Lazarus, come forth," death had to release its grip. When He said, "Peace, be still," the storm lost its voice. So when God says it's time for you, every chain, every delay, every disappointment must bow. It's not a negotiation. It's a divine verdict. When heaven stamps your moment with now, everything that has tried to resist you will be removed. The problem is, many people walk away right before the appointed time. They give up in the 11th hour. They abandon their assignment because they can't see results on their calendar. But let me tell you something. God does not need your calendar to fulfill His covenant. He does not require your timeline to bring His promises to pass. That's why He told Habakkuk, "The vision is for an appointed time. Though it tarries, wait for it. It will surely come. It will not delay." In other words, God doesn't forget appointments. He fulfills them. There are moments when you'll be tempted to think that you missed it, that you waited too long, that you made too many mistakes, that your background disqualified your breakthrough. But here's the truth. God's purpose for you has not expired. His promise has not evaporated. His plan has not been cancelled. It's been scheduled. He doesn't rush just because you're tired. He completes what He started in the time He knows is right. Heaven's timing is prophetic. It aligns not just with your need, but with your preparation, your obedience, and the alignment of other people and circumstances that you don't even know are involved. Sometimes God is not just working on you. He's working on the people who are going to open the door. He's working on the location. He's working on the platform. He's working on the timing in such a way that when you arrive, everything is ready. Think about Joseph. He had the dream at 17, but stepped into the palace at 30. Was God late? No. Every betrayal, every prison, every false accusation, it was all part of the preparation. At the right moment, Pharaoh had a dream, and that dream created a vacancy that matched Joseph's destiny. The appointment was already set. Joseph just had to be processed enough to recognize it when it came. Or consider David, anointed as a teenager, but he didn't sit on the throne until years later. And even then, it came in stages. First Hebron, then Jerusalem. If you had asked David in the cave if God was late, he might have said yes. But heaven wasn't late. It was aligning. God was making sure the throne wasn't just open, but that the people were ready to receive the King. Your time is not just about you. It's about those connected to your obedience. There's a divine rhythm to your life. You don't have to force doors open. You don't have to manipulate your way into visibility. You don't have to beg people to recognize your value. When it's your time, favor will speak on your behalf. The same ones who ignored you will be the ones who recommend you. The same platforms that overlooked you will seek you out, not because of luck, not because of chance, but because heaven said. So don't panic. Don't compare. Don't get anxious watching other people flourish. Celebrate them. Because if it's happening for them, it means God is moving in your neighborhood. If He's blessing others, it means He hasn't forgotten where you live. It's not too late for you. You haven't missed your window. You haven't wasted too much time. God's grace knows how to restore what was lost and redeem what was broken. You are not forgotten. You are not disqualified. You are not delayed. You are on divine pause, waiting for divine play. And when God presses play, the acceleration will make up for all the time you thought was wasted. Because when heaven schedules something, it doesn't need your permission, only your preparation. The pain, the silence, the long nights, none of it was wasted. Every tear you cried, every moment you questioned, every time you wondered, God, where are you, was not overlooked. You may have thought you were being punished, but heaven was proving you. What looked like delay was actually divine development. What felt like isolation was actually preparation. The process was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to reveal what you carry. Your pain was not random. It was strategic. It was God's way of saying, I'm preparing you for something greater than your environment suggests. You see, in the kingdom of God, process always precedes promotion. God never hands authority to someone who hasn't been processed. Before He gives you visibility, He gives you weight. Before He gives you platforms, He gives you private battles. Why? Because if the calling is great, the character must be greater. And character is not built in the spotlight. It is forged in the furnace of pressure. Don't mistake the silence of God as the absence of God. Often, when the teacher is silent, it's because the test is in progress. And your test was not about your ability to perform. It was about your capacity to endure. God already knew what He placed in you, but He had to allow you to see it for yourself. It's easy to quote scripture in the sanctuary, but can you still believe the word in the wilderness? Can you still hold on to the vision when everything in your life contradicts it? There were seasons when you prayed and heard nothing, when you obeyed and saw no reward, when you gave your best and life gave you pain in return. You thought God was ignoring you, but He was inspecting you. He was watching to see if you would remain faithful when nothing made sense. The trial wasn't about breaking you. It was about proving that you could be trusted with more. Capacity is earned in trials. And in the kingdom, God does not trust gifting. He trusts brokenness. That's why Jesus broke the bread before He multiplied it. He blessed it, He broke it, and then He gave it. The same pattern applies to your life. You were blessed. Then you are broken. But now you are about to be given to nations, to generations, to people who need what your pain has taught you. What you've endured has given you authority. Real authority doesn't come from titles. It comes from triumph. You don't get oil without crushing the olive. You don't get wine without pressing the grape. And you don't get authentic anointing without going through things that should have broken you. That's why your story has weight. That's why your words carry healing. Because you're not speaking from theory, you're speaking from survival. Some people want your crown, but don't want your cross. They want your favor, but not your furnace. But what they don't understand is that the weight of the calling matches the depth of the crushing. The greater the assignment, the deeper the process. God was never being cruel. He was proving your capacity. He was expanding your shoulders for the mantle that's about to rest on you. He was enlarging your heart to carry compassion for the people He's sending to you. And now when you look back at what you've survived, you realize it wasn't just a process. It was a prophecy in disguise. Every betrayal taught you discernment. Every closed door taught you direction. Every silent season taught you to depend on God more than people. And every heartbreak taught you that healing is holy. You are not the same person who started the journey. You have been refined. You have been strengthened. You have been made new. It had to happen the way it did because God wasn't just answering your prayer. He was building your posture. The pressure forced you to pray. The rejection forced you to go deeper. The confusion forced you to seek His face instead of His hand. And that was the goal all along. Not to make you successful, but to make you unshakable. You see, calling without process creates entitlement. But calling with process creates humility and authority. You're not arrogant, you're anchored. You're not puffed up, you're poured out. You're not self-made, you're spirit-shaped. And that makes all the difference. Because now you don't just carry the word, you carry the wounds that confirm the word. You don't just recite scripture, you embody it. That's why you're still standing. Not because life was easy, but because the grace of God was molding you in the fire. He didn't remove the storm. He developed your sail. He didn't take away the pressure, He expanded your capacity. He didn't stop the pain, He transformed it into purpose. Your scars are not signs of failure, they are signatures of survival. So when the enemy comes whispering, "You're not qualified," remind him, "My process was my proof." When people ask how you got here, tell them, it was never about talent, it was about being trusted with trials. You didn't climb to this point. You were carved into it by God's own hand. And that carving, that shaping, that silent, painful, sacred process, it was heaven's announcement that your position has been confirmed. The process may have been long, but it was never in vain. It was heaven's way of marking you, maturing you, and molding you for the very thing He's about to manifest. You passed the test, not because you were perfect, but because you were faithful. And now, what was once invisible is about to become undeniable. Promotion in the kingdom of God is never random, and it is never for show. It is not for applause. It is not to stroke your ego or to validate your image. God doesn't elevate people to make them feel important. He elevates them because something important needs to be done. Promotion is not about celebration. It's about assignment. It's about territory. It's about impact. So if God is lifting you, it's because there's a place, a people, a purpose that has your name written on it. God doesn't hand out influence like a reward. He distributes it as a responsibility. That's why real promotion comes after real pressure. Because before God can trust you with people, He has to process your motives. He has to test whether you want the spotlight or whether you carry the light, whether you're hungry for attention or desperate to fulfill the assignment. Many chase platforms, but platforms without purpose are empty stages that feed pride and starve calling. But when God promotes you, it's because He has already shaped you to carry what that elevation demands. There is a difference between being seen by man and being sent by God. When you are seen, you attract opinions. When you are sent, you carry authority. And God will never send you where you cannot stand. He will not elevate you where your character cannot sustain you. That's why the promotion seems to take so long. Because the weight of your next season cannot rest on an unstable foundation. Before the crown, there must be a cross. Before the throne, there must be a wilderness. Before the applause, there must be alignment. Don't misunderstand where you are right now. If you are being lifted, it's not because God favors you above others. It's because He needs you in a specific place at a specific time. Promotion is heaven's strategy for solving a problem on the earth. There is a voice crying in a wilderness somewhere that only your life can answer. There's a territory in chaos that needs the peace you carry. There's a broken soul that needs the healing born from your scars. So when God begins to raise you, don't get caught up in the elevation. Stay focused on the assignment. Look at Esther. She didn't become queen so she could wear a crown. She was elevated for a cause. She was brought into a position of influence to become a voice for her people. Mordecai didn't flatter her with compliments. He confronted her with purpose. Who knows whether you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this? In other words, your crown isn't the point. your calling is. And if you miss that, you sit in places of power and still feel empty. Or take Joseph. He didn't rise to power in Egypt so he could gloat in front of his brothers. He was elevated so he could preserve a nation during famine. His gift made room for him, but it was his endurance and humility that allowed him to steward promotion without letting pride corrupt the purpose. He saw beyond the favor into the function. That's what maturity looks like. When you recognize that promotion is not personal glory, but divine responsibility. You weren't chosen so you could boast. You were chosen so you could build. You weren't lifted to be idolized. You were lifted to intervene. There are people attached to your voice, people God has strategically positioned in your path, people who need the wisdom, the insight, the anointing you developed through your journey. And when God promotes you, it's not just for your benefit, it's for theirs. It's not so your name can be great. It's so His name can be glorified through you. This is why God often hides His chosen ones before revealing them. He hides them in seasons of obscurity, in quiet places, where no one is clapping and no one is calling their name. Not because they're forgotten, but because they're being formed. Because if you get promoted before you understand your purpose, you'll misuse the position. You'll chase crowds instead of callings. You'll crave affirmation instead of carrying assignment. But when you've been processed correctly, elevation won't excite your ego. It will awaken your urgency. You'll see the doors opening, the platforms emerging, the influence increasing, and your response will not be, "Look at me." It will be, "Lord, use me." You'll understand that the higher God takes you, the deeper He expects you to reach. Because the blessing isn't about climbing a ladder, it's about lifting others as you go. Promotion is not a reward, it's a responsibility. And the responsibility is sacred, it's weighty, it's holy. That's why God doesn't give it quickly. Because when He lifts someone, He is entrusting them with lives, with decisions, with impact that reaches far beyond what they can see. That business idea, that ministry platform, that creative vision, it's not just a dream, it's a divine deployment. You are being placed in position not to be impressive, but to be impactful. So don't run from the weight of your rising. Don't downplay the doors opening in front of you. Don't apologize for the favor God is putting on your life. But do remember what it's for. It's not for comfort. It's not for clout. It's for kingdom purpose. It's because there is something in the earth that cannot move forward without your obedience. Something that heaven has assigned you to fix, to speak to lead, to restore. You have not been promoted for applause. You have been positioned for assignment. Heaven is not lifting you to elevate your brand. It's lifting you to execute a blueprint. The elevation is real, but the mission is greater. There are moments in life when time itself becomes sacred. Not every day is equal in weight. Not every season is common. There are divine windows when heaven leans in and says, "Now." These are not casual days, these are major days. And major days are not ordinary days. When God declares a season major, He is not talking about routine moments or predictable outcomes. He's talking about a shift in the spirit that will soon manifest in the natural. Days when the unseen becomes undeniable. You must understand that God measures time differently than we do. We look at clocks and calendars. He looks at Kairos. Kairos is not just chronological time. It is appointed time. A major day is a Kairos moment. When the preparation of your past collides with the purpose of your future. It's when things begin to move in rapid succession. Doors you thought were closed for good begin to swing open without explanation. Conversations happen that you didn't schedule. Opportunities arise that your resume didn't qualify for. People start to find you, not because of your promotion, but because of divine positioning. When God calls a season major, it means the ground has been saturated long enough with your tears, your prayers, your fasting, your discipline, your obedience in silence. It means the waiting season is transitioning into the birthing season. What was concealed is now ready to be revealed. What was internal is about to be external. This is not just another year on the calendar. This is not just another opportunity. This is divine orchestration unfolding. There are days when you feel something shift in your spirit before you see it with your eyes. You can't explain it, but you know something is different. The atmosphere feels charged. Your discernment is heightened. Your spirit is on alert. That's how you know it's a major day. These are the kinds of days where God says, prepare yourself. I'm about to interrupt the natural with the supernatural. It is not business as usual. It is not church as usual. It is not life as usual. The ordinary rhythm of things is being disrupted by divine intervention. And here's the powerful truth. Major days never come without major preparation. You may not have realized it, but every valley you've walked through was preparing you for this moment. Every night you cried, every battle you endured, every no you survived, it all brought you here. God never announces a major day until the vessel is ready to carry the weight of it. The days may seem to change suddenly, but the preparation was happening all along. Think about Moses. He spent 40 years in the wilderness, tending sheep, obscure, hidden, forgotten by men. But then came a day that was not ordinary, a burning bush encounter that shifted the course of history. That was a major day. It didn't look like it from the outside, but everything changed. God declared, I have heard the cry of my people, now go. That was a divine activation. Moses' whole life up to that point was preparation for that one major day. Consider David. He was anointed as a young man, but he still had to fight lions, bears, and Goliaths before he ascended the throne. Then came the day when the tribe of Judah declared him king. A major day. It wasn't about fanfare, it was about fulfillment. It was about destiny catching up with promise. That day didn't just mark elevation, it marked manifestation. God had spoken years before, but now the word was taking on flesh. You are stepping into a time like that, a moment when what was spoken in secret will be shouted from rooftops, when what was brewing in your spirit will be seen with natural eyes. God does not waste major days on passive people. He releases them to those who have endured the crushing, the waiting, the refining. He entrusts them to those who are not chasing hype but hungry for purpose. On major days, heaven and earth begin to agree. You'll start to see acceleration, not because you pushed harder, but because heaven declared go. You'll see alignment, not because you networked better, but because your season has come. God doesn't need a crowd to shift a season. He only needs a word. And when He speaks, everything bows to it. Circumstances realign. People change their posture. Provision comes from unexpected places. Favor finds you without you chasing it. Because the word of God never arrives empty. It comes to accomplish. Don't take these days lightly. Don't treat them as if they are common. When God says this is a major moment, honor it with expectation. Watch your words. Guard your thoughts. Protect your atmosphere. Because how you handle these days will determine what they unlock. If you approach them with fear, you may miss the door. But if you meet them with faith, you'll walk through it with boldness. Major days demand a major mindset. You cannot walk into new dimensions with old paradigms. You must leave behind the mentalities of survival and step into the identity of the sent. These are days for movement, for bold action, for big prayers, for prophetic decisions. God is not doing small things in the season. He's doing strategic things. And if you stay in tune with Him, you'll find yourself in rooms you didn't apply for, having conversations you never could have orchestrated. So when the shift starts to happen, don't hesitate. Move when He moves. Speak when He speaks. Obey even when it doesn't make sense. Because the momentum of major days carries a different speed. It doesn't wait for you to get ready. It rewards those who already are. There comes a point in every believer's life when the heavens don't shift because God changed His mind, but because you changed yours. It's not that God just now decided to move. It's that you finally believed Him enough to align your heart with what He's been saying all along. What you've been praying for wasn't stuck in heaven's traffic. It was waiting on your faith to mature. It's happening now because you finally believe. Belief is not a feeling. It's not positive thinking. It's not religious vocabulary. Belief is alignment. Belief is when your inner conviction finally says the same thing God said and your actions reflect it. For too long you spoke promises but lived in hesitation. You heard prophecy but still entertained doubt. You had vision but didn't have faith to walk toward it. But something has shifted. Your mind, your mouth, and your movements are beginning to agree with heaven. That's why it's happening. Heaven doesn't operate on emotion. It responds to faith. God doesn't release manifestation because you're desperate. He releases it when you're ready. And readiness is not about skill, it's about trust. There are things that God spoke over your life years ago, but you weren't in position to receive them because fear kept you small. But now, you've been through enough. You fought through the dark nights, endured the silence, battled the lies, and now you believe Him for real. That's the unlock. That's the moment the gates swing open. That's when time, favor, and divine appointments begin to align. Faith is heaven's currency. Without it, it is impossible to please God. But with it, mountains move, doors open, the invisible becomes tangible. Faith is not just believing that God can, it's living like He will. It's not waiting for signs to act, it's acting because you already carry a word. That's why many have heard prophecy, but only a few walk in fulfillment. Because faith is the bridge between hearing and happening. Let's be clear. God's promise over your life didn't just appear. It's been there. It was spoken over you before you were born. But faith is the access point. It's like having the key to a vault that's always been full. The inheritance was never the issue. Your agreement was. But now the key has turned. Not because God increased His power, but because you increased your agreement. You're no longer negotiating with fear. You're no longer asking for confirmation every step. You're standing, declaring, moving. It's because your faith has grown into maturity. And here's the beauty. God is not petty. He didn't withhold blessings to punish you. He was waiting to protect you. Because receiving a breakthrough before your belief is ready can destroy you. If He had answered you back when you still questioned your own identity, you would have sabotaged it. If He had opened the doors when you still doubted your voice, you would have disqualified yourself. But now you know who you are, not because life has been easy, but because your faith has been forged in fire. This is why the enemy fought your belief more than your resources. He attacked your identity, not your finances. He tried to sow doubt, not because God wasn't moving, but because he knew once you believed, nothing could stop it. Satan doesn't fear your dreams. He fears your faith. Because faith makes you unstoppable. Faith puts you in sync with divine timing. Faith is dangerous to darkness because it dares to move, even when there's no evidence. Now that you believe, your prayers sound different. You're not begging God to move. You're thanking him because you know he already has. You're not asking from fear. You're commanding from alignment. You don't flinch at resistance anymore because you finally understand that faith doesn't deny warfare. It dominates through it. Faith doesn't remove the storm, it walks on it. You're not waiting for perfect conditions. You're moving in prophetic confidence. What you're experiencing now is not luck. It's not coincidence. It's not sudden favor. It's the result of your faith finally rising to the level of your calling. This is the moment where the inner man and the outer world collide, where your private believing is producing public breakthrough. You don't have to force it. You don't have to chase it. Because once your belief aligns with heaven's announcement, things start chasing you. Scripture says all things are possible to him who believes. Not to him who studies, not to him who quotes, but to him who believes. That means the lid is off. The restrictions are gone. There is no cap on what God can do now because you are no longer doubting his voice. You're no longer hesitating to act. You've shifted from hoping to knowing, and that shift is everything. And what's wild is that nothing externally changed before this season. God didn't just suddenly grow more powerful. The word didn't just now become true. What changed was you. Your posture changed. Your spirit came into agreement. Your belief matured from theory to reality. You stopped rehearsing your past and started expecting your future. You stopped minimizing your calling and started walking in it boldly. And heaven responded, not because you shouted louder, but because you finally believed deeper. This is the reason the dam is breaking. This is why things are moving. This is why the atmosphere around you feels charged. You didn't just level up in talent, you leveled up in trust. And when trust reaches heaven's frequency, things begin to manifest. It's not delayed anymore. It's not distant anymore. It's not a someday thing. It's a now thing. Because it's not waiting on God anymore. It was waiting on you. So now, let me declare this over your life. You were not born to chase seasons. You were born to discern them. And I came to announce that heaven has already shifted the calendar in your favor. You are not waiting on the move. You are the move. You are not seeking confirmation. You are walking in manifestation. The heavens have declared it, the Spirit has confirmed it, and your faith has aligned with it. This is your time, not next year, not someday. Now, you're not trying to become chosen. You were chosen before you had a name. You're not rising because you forced your way in. You're rising because the King has summoned you for it. The warfare was proof. The delay was training. The silence was divine setup. And the shift is heaven's answer. It's happening because you finally believe. So walk out of fear. Step out of shadows. Break agreement with the old season and step into your divine announcement. Because when God says major days, He's not talking about ordinary breakthroughs. He's talking about kingdom movements. History doesn't change when crowds shout. History changes when the called believe. So rise, build, occupy, for the time is fulfilled. The announcement has been made. And the earth is about to witness what heaven already knew. The chosen one has stepped into position. Before I say anything else, let me tell you this. Your life is not ordinary. You didn't just show up on this earth. You were sent. You didn't stumble into existence. You were released with intention, with strategy, with divine backing. That's why nothing about your journey has been casual. That's why you face storms that others couldn't survive. That's why from an early age, there's been pressure, confusion, and resistance you couldn't explain. Because you're not just a person, you are a spiritual assignment. You are a walking prophecy. You are a declaration of war to the kingdom of darkness. And today I want to open your eyes to something deeper. You've been thinking your pain was personal. You thought your battle was about your mistakes, your background, your family, or your decisions. But the truth is, you caused a war in the spirit realm. Heaven and hell are both watching you. Angels and demons are responding to your presence. Why? Because you are chosen, and chosen ones don't enter quietly. They are marked before birth, fought in the womb, and resisted from childhood. But despite all that, you're still here. And that means something powerful is still in motion. Let's go deeper. Before you were even a thought in the minds of your parents, before the doctor ever confirmed your existence, before the world ever heard your name, God had already written a divine assignment over your life. Your entry into this world was not the beginning of your story. It was the manifestation of a purpose that heaven had already approved. You were not born to simply exist. You were born to fulfill something eternal, something so significant that it caused a ripple in the unseen realm the moment you took your first breath. Many people underestimate themselves because they judge their worth by their circumstances. But your value is not in your environment. It's in your assignment. And when God assigns purpose, it is not a light thing. Heaven doesn't waste breath. Every soul released onto this earth carries an intention from the Creator Himself. That means you are a strategic move in the hand of God. You are a solution to a problem your generation would face. You are a response to a cry that heaven heard before you were born. The spiritual realm recognized your assignment before you could even speak your first word. That's why the war started early. The enemy doesn't wait for you to become aware of your purpose before launching his attacks. He detects it in your presence. The enemy sensed something in you the moment you were born, something that threatened the foundation of his demonic agenda. And because of that, he began his warfare long before you understood who you really were. Have you ever wondered why certain attacks came against you so young? Why you experienced rejection before you even knew what love truly meant? Why you felt isolated, misunderstood, or spiritually attacked before you even had a language for your pain? It's because hell saw the mark of divine destiny on your life. The kingdom of darkness never wastes ammunition. If the attack came early, it means your assignment was already causing disruption in the enemy's territory. Purpose provokes warfare. And when God places His hand on someone, it causes movement in both heaven and hell. Angels are assigned to assist and demons are sent to resist. It's not a sign that you've done something wrong. It's a sign that you were born with something right. That rejection you experienced was not personal. It was strategic. That battle in your childhood wasn't random. It was spiritual. The trauma wasn't just emotional, it was generational. It was all designed to derail you before you could discover what you carry. The enemy's greatest fear is not your present, it's your future. He fears what you will become once you realize your identity. That's why he attacks your identity first. If he can confuse your sense of self, he can paralyze your sense of assignment. Because the key to unlocking your divine mission is knowing who you are and whose you are. You weren't born into this world empty. You were born into it equipped with purpose, equipped with influence, equipped with favor, equipped with anointing. And yet the world tried to silence you early. The system tried to shape you. The voices around you tried to label you. But what heaven wrote over you cannot be erased by earthly hands. That assignment written in the eternal realms carries weight, it carries authority, it carries legacy. You were not born to simply make a living. You were born to make a difference. And the weight of your calling is the reason for the intensity of your spiritual warfare. Some people don't understand why your journey has been so hard, but they're looking at the natural and missing the supernatural. They're seeing the surface, but God is working with substance. The battles that came against your mind, your family, your finances, your health, they were all connected to your assignment. The more valuable the purpose, the more violent the warfare. It's not because you're cursed, it's because you're chosen. And being chosen means that you were set apart before time began for something greater than time can explain. This is why you must never allow your past to define your future. Everything that happened to you, even the pain, the betrayal, the delay, the confusion, was part of a larger spiritual strategy to either prepare you or prevent you. But the fact that you're still here, the fact that you're still breathing, still pressing, still seeking truth, still rising from the ashes, it proves that your assignment survived every attempt to destroy it. God doesn't assign purpose without provision. That means He has already arranged the help you need, the doors that must open, the connections that must be made, and the strength that must be imparted. Heaven has invested in your success because your success is not about status. It's about assignment. You are a vessel, not an ornament. You are a carrier of something divine. And when you finally align your life with that purpose, you will understand why the enemy tried so hard to keep you confused, distracted, and discouraged. Every spiritual attack you faced is a compliment to what you carry. The enemy doesn't fight empty vessels. He targets people who are pregnant with destiny. And when God put that assignment in you, He did so knowing the battles it would attract. Yet He also promised to be with you in the fire, in the storm, in the midnight hour. He didn't just assign you, He equipped you. You have been fortified by grace, strengthened by trials, and matured through warfare. And now, every step you take toward fulfilling your assignment is a step that makes the enemy nervous, because you're no longer blind to your identity. You're no longer confused about your value. You're no longer silent about your truth. You are awakening. You are rising. You are moving in power. Because what God started in you before your birth, He intends to finish through your obedience. You are not ordinary. You were never meant to blend in. The moment God breathed life into you, something sacred entered time through your existence. You may walk among men, but your presence speaks loudly in the spirit realm. You carry an identity that was assigned in heaven, not manufactured by culture. And because of that identity, you provoke hell and activate heaven. Your life is not common. It is marked. You may not have a title, a microphone, or a platform, but your very being carries the fragrance of divine authority. There's something about you that disrupts systems of darkness, even when you're silent. Your thoughts carry weight, your prayers shake realms, your worship shapes atmospheres. You don't need to announce who you are. Your spirit speaks for itself. Demons recognize you even if people don't. Angels stand guard over you, not because of your perfection, but because of your position in the kingdom. You see, identity is everything in the spirit. It is not what people call you. It's what heaven called you before the foundation of the world. It's what the enemy saw the moment you entered the earth. It's the reason you've been attacked in ways that seem unfair. Hell doesn't waste energy on the average. It comes after those who carry evidence of God's intention. That's why some people around you can live any way they want with no resistance, but you get immediate warfare the moment you try to step into alignment. You don't belong to the masses. You're a remnant. You're a carrier of kingdom DNA. Your presence is disruptive to the plans of the enemy, not because of what you do, but because of who you are. You don't have to open your mouth. Your spirit testifies that you belong to a higher authority. There are rooms you enter that shift just because you walk in. People feel something different when you speak. Environments change when you pray, not because of charisma, but because you've been authorized. You walk in a level of spiritual recognition that cannot be explained by your resume or your past. It is the invisible mark of God on your life, and that mark commands attention in the spirit. When you walk into places where demonic systems have been operating unchecked, your identity irritates those spirits. They sense that you are a disruptor. They know you've come to tear down, to rebuild, to speak truth, to set captives free. You represent what they fear: alignment, truth, and authority. And so they attack, not because you're weak, but because you're powerful. They want you to believe you're ordinary so you won't access the fullness of your anointing. But once you realize who you are, hell's strategies begin to crumble. At the same time, heaven is activated around you. Angels are assigned to your purpose. Divine appointments are orchestrated for your journey. When you walk in your true identity, heaven moves on your behalf. Doors open that no man can shut. Protection increases. Wisdom flows. Resources locate you, not because you chase them, but because identity draws provision. Heaven funds what heaven assigns. There are times you felt misunderstood, even rejected, and that's because your presence challenges the spiritual complacency of others. You don't fit in circles that lack vision. You don't feel at home where purpose is absent. You've outgrown spaces that refuse to evolve. It's not arrogance, it's alignment. The oil on your life won't allow you to be comfortable in average. Your spirit knows you were made for more. You can't sleep like others. You can't sin like others. You can't settle like others. Every time you try to shrink to be accepted, something in your soul feels violated. That's because you weren't designed to shrink. You were designed to shine. And when you shine, darkness reacts. When you step into purpose, hell resists, but heaven responds. This is why you must protect your identity at all costs. The enemy's greatest attack is against who you believe you are, because if he can distort your self-perception, he can diminish your impact. But when you come into agreement with heaven's declaration over your life, your walk changes, your talk changes, your decisions change. You begin to live from a place of authority, not insecurity. And that is what the devil fears most. You are not ordinary. You are a spiritual disruptor. Your identity is your weapon. Your presence is your proof. You don't need validation from man when you've been approved by God. Every day you wake up, hell gets nervous and heaven gets ready, because a chosen one has stepped into the battlefield, carrying both purpose and power. The battle you face daily, the pressure that seems unrelenting, the warfare that often comes from unexpected places, it's not personal. It feels personal, it looks personal, but in the spirit, it's strategic. The attacks are not aimed at your personality. They are aimed at your purpose. You are not being fought because of your background, your family name, or your mistakes. You are being fought because of what you were born to release, build, break, and restore in your generation. You see, purpose carries power, and power disrupts patterns. The enemy is not threatened by people who merely exist. He is threatened by those who wake up to their assignment. You were born to make a difference, to challenge systems, to dismantle strongholds, and to carry healing into broken places. The battle is not against your preferences, it's against your potential. And once you start walking in purpose, the warfare increases, not because you're losing, but because you're aligning. Every great assignment attracts great opposition. If you weren't carrying anything worth attacking, the enemy wouldn't waste his time. But you are dangerous, not because you shout, not because you pour scriptures, but because your life is a message, a living epistle. You are evidence that God still raises up chosen vessels in dark times. Your obedience is powerful. Your persistence is threatening. Your vision is unsettling to demonic agendas. The enemy fights your mind because your ideas are about to liberate people. He attacks your relationships because unity in your circle would birth movements. He targets your self-worth because confidence would cause you to speak life where others remain silent. The enemy doesn't want your stuff. He wants your influence. He wants your effectiveness. He wants your legacy, because he knows that if you ever realize who you are and why you're here, nothing can stop the wave of transformation that will follow. You were born to release freedom. That means your voice matters. Your perspective matters. Your presence is not accidental. The moment you start praying, strongholds weaken. The moment you start building, change begins to break. The moment you speak life, darkness loses ground. That's why confusion and discouragement always try to cloud your path, because purpose must be protected, and the enemy will use anything, offense, betrayal, lack, fear, to pull you out of alignment. But you must discern the attack beyond the surface. Don't get caught up in the personalities used by the enemy. They are not the source. They are instruments in a larger scheme to derail you from purpose. If the enemy can get you bitter, he can block you. If he can get you distracted, he can delay you. If he can get you doubting, he can detour you. But once you realize it's not about you, it's about your assignment, you rise above petty battles and press toward divine goals. You were born to build what the enemy tried to destroy. That's why the enemy fought your family line. That's why you experience lack, loss, and instability. Because what you build will stand as a testimony that God redeems what was broken. You are the bridge between what was and what can be. Your hands are anointed to create systems that heal, structures that last, and visions that outlive you. And that's why opposition comes to wear you down before you even start. You were born to break cycles, addictions, mindsets, generational patterns, things that ran freely through your bloodline until you stood up and said, "Not through me." That declaration alone provokes spiritual warfare, because when you break a cycle, you shift an entire lineage. When you say yes to purpose, you begin undoing what the enemy spent years building. And that kind of authority is not welcomed in the enemy's camp. You were born to restore what others gave up on. You carry the oil of restoration, whether it's in families, communities, broken hearts, or weary minds. The enemy fears your compassion. He fears your ability to see potential in what's been cast aside. He fears your resilience, because it's contagious. When others watch you rise again and again, it stirs something in them. It awakens hope. And hope is dangerous to darkness because hope births movement. The battle then is not about your feelings, it's about your fruit. The enemy sees the harvest connected to your life and wants to stop it at the seed level. That's why the warfare doesn't wait for success. It starts in your beginnings. It starts when you're still trying to figure things out. Because he knows that if the seed survives, the fruit will multiply. And your fruit isn't just for you. It's for nations, generations, and the advancement of God's kingdom. So when the battle feels unbearable, remember, it's not about you being targeted. It's about your purpose being threatened. That purpose is precious. It's eternal. It's sacred. It carries heaven's signature. And the enemy cannot erase what God has ordained, but he will try to discourage the vessel through which it must flow. Stay focused, stay prayerful, stay surrendered, because the pressure is a clue that your purpose is not only real, it's active. Every spiritual battle you face is not just an inconvenience, it's confirmation. It's the evidence that you're carrying something the enemy fears. Kingdom property. You don't get attacked for nothing. You don't wrestle in the spirit without cause. The warfare is targeted, not random. Hell doesn't waste its weapons on empty vessels. If there was nothing inside of you, the enemy wouldn't bother. The resistance you feel is proof that your life carries something holy, something powerful, something that threatens darkness on every level. There is a deposit within you that was placed there by heaven itself. It cannot be replicated, copied, or transferred. That deposit is the anointing, the divine equipping that empowers you to fulfill your assignment. And that anointing is not decorative, it's functional. It breaks yokes, it unlocks doors, it pierces through deception. And because it is kingdom property, it is constantly under surveillance by the enemy. You were born with a target on your back, not because of your faults, but because of your function. The enemy is after what you carry. That calling on your life, it shakes foundations. That mantle of authority, it shifts atmospheres. That discernment you walk in, it reveals what hell wants to keep hidden. You see, you don't just walk into rooms. You bring heaven's government with you. You are not just a person of faith. You are a carrier of divine influence. You were never meant to blend in. And that's why spiritual resistance shows up whenever you try to move forward. What's inside of you is not for sale. It's not negotiable. It belongs to God. And the more you surrender to that truth, the more you will attract opposition. But don't let the battles deceive you. They are not signs of defeat. They are signs of possession. You're carrying something, and the enemy wants it silenced, aborted, or diluted. He wants to convince you that warfare means you're losing, but in reality, warfare means you're loaded. You are a carrier of solutions, a vessel of purpose, a walking answer to prayers that haven't even been spoken yet. Your life is a warehouse of kingdom tools. When you pray, heaven listens. When you move, hell takes notice. When you speak, things break. That's not pride, it's purpose. That's not arrogance, it's awareness. And once you become aware of what you carry, your posture changes. You stop being shocked by the storm because you understand the cargo inside of you. Spiritual warfare doesn't come to those who are empty. It comes to those who are filled with divine assignments. The reason the attacks intensify when you get serious about God is because your alignment awakens the opposition. The moment you begin to walk in purity, in purpose, in obedience, the moment you stop compromising and start contending, hell recognizes that you're no longer a passive believer. You are an active threat. It's easy to doubt yourself in the middle of the battle. The enemy will try to convince you that the presence of warfare means God has abandoned you. But that's a lie. The enemy doesn't attack those who are abandoned. He attacks those who are anointed. If you were empty, you'd be invisible to hell. But you are not empty. You are full of divine fire, and that fire will either ignite faith or expose fear, depending on who's watching. That's why some people can't handle your presence. It's not about your personality, it's about your power. You may not even realize it, but when you walk into certain places, the atmosphere changes, not because of your words, but because of what you carry. You have been entrusted with spiritual authority. You have been authorized by heaven to shift things in the natural and the supernatural. That is why the resistance keeps coming. It's confirmation that your life is not normal. It is necessary. The weight you feel is the weight of glory. The pressure you carry is not punishment, it's preservation. God has placed something inside of you that must be protected. You can't live like others because you carry what others are waiting for. You can't take shortcuts because what you carry must be delivered with integrity. You can't quit because what you carry is tied to someone else's freedom. This is not about you being comfortable. It's about you being consecrated. Every time you feel spiritual resistance, you must remind yourself it's not just an attack, it's a reminder. A reminder that you are carrying kingdom property. A reminder that you are a vessel of eternal value. A reminder that you have something inside of you that hell hopes you never recognize. Because once you see it, once you embrace it, once you walk boldly in it, you become unstoppable. The fire isn't here to consume you, it's here to reveal you. The storm isn't here to destroy you, it's here to verify you. The pressure isn't here to break you, it's here to prove that you are filled with something the enemy can't control. And the more the battle rages, the clearer it becomes, there is something within you that is not of this world. And that is why the world and the darkness in it fight so hard to contain it. Heaven will never abandon what God has invested in you. You are not walking through this life by chance or moving through battles uncovered. There is a divine strategy wrapped around your existence. And God has personally assigned resources from heaven to ensure that what He placed in you will not be lost. Every calling has a covering, every purpose has protection, and every destiny carries divine backup. You may feel surrounded by chaos, but you are also surrounded by angels. You may feel overwhelmed, but you are never overlooked. The hand of God is still on you, not because of your perfection, but because of His investment. God does not place purpose in someone and then walk away. He is not an absentee father. He is a covenant-keeping king. What He starts, He finishes. What He authors, He completes. And when He breathed that vision into your spirit, when He deposited that assignment into your soul, He also arranged divine escorts to walk with you through every storm. Heaven always backs purpose. You are not trying to survive on your own strength. You are being carried by a heavenly infrastructure that cannot be shaken. Some of the attacks you faced weren't just about you. They were designed to make you question if God was still with you, but presence doesn't always look like peace. Sometimes it looks like endurance. Sometimes it looks like a still small voice reminding you, you're not alone, keep going, I'm with you. When all else fails, God's investment in you remains. His word does not return void. His seed does not dry up. His plans are not subject to demonic veto. When God invests in you, He also ensures you. That's why you survived what should have destroyed you. That's why you made it out of battles that were designed to bury you. Not because you were so strong, but because you were so covered. Angels were dispatched long before you even knew you were in danger. Divine reinforcement showed up before the attack fully formed. Because heaven defends what God deposits. The potential inside of you is not exposed, it is protected. You may walk through the valley, but you are never without a shadow of divine presence hovering over your steps. You must understand that you are not some spiritual orphan begging for direction. You are an heir of divine legacy, chosen and guarded by the King of Kings. The same God who called you is the same God who fights for you. The same power that raised Jesus from the dead is the same power that is active in your life. Heaven does not abandon its assignments. The host of heaven is not passive. It is poised for intervention. And the moment you align with God's will, all of heaven aligns with you. Some doors you walked through were not opened by your own strength. They were unlocked by angelic assistance. Some opportunities that found you were not random. They were heaven's way of reminding you, we haven't forgotten what you carry. When you're too weak to pray, intercession is made for you. When you feel outnumbered, heaven's armies are already in formation. God is not just interested in starting something in you. He's committed to sustaining it, empowering it, and seeing it fulfilled. The warfare may be fierce, but so is your covering. The fire may be hot, but so is the hedge of protection around your life. Just because you can't see the angels doesn't mean they're not there. Just because you don't always feel divine strength doesn't mean you aren't being held. God doesn't need your senses to be active in your situation. He's God all by himself. And when he chooses you, he also chooses to shield you, not from every hardship, but from total defeat. Not from every battle, but from utter destruction. The reason you're still standing isn't because you've avoided hardship. It's because heaven has invested in your victory. And God will never allow what he planted in you to be uprooted by demonic forces. He didn't call you to barely make it. He called you to occupy, to dominate, to influence, to advance the kingdom. And because your mission is so critical, your protection is non-negotiable. Heaven doesn't sponsor failure, it covers destiny. You are not exposed even in your weakest moments. You are not forsaken even when you feel abandoned. You are not forgotten even when you're isolated. You are heaven's investment, and that investment carries security. God watches over his word in you to perform it. He tracks every movement, he sees every tear, and he responds to every cry that comes from a yielded heart. Your prayers are never ignored. Your obedience is never wasted. Your warfare is never unseen. So even when everything around you looks unstable, remember that you are anchored in an unshakable kingdom. Even when people walk away, know that heaven's angels are stationed where people fail. Even when the battle seems too big, remember the one who invested in you already declared the victory, and he does not lose what he calls. Heaven will always back what God breathes into existence, potential. And if he called you, then every storm, every fire, every delay, every betrayal is just another stage where heaven shows that it never abandons what God has invested in. Hell knows your future and fights to stop your present. The warfare around your life is not random, it's strategic. It is not just about what you're doing today, but what you're destined to accomplish tomorrow. The enemy isn't reacting to your past, he's responding to the prophetic word hanging over your life. That's why the pressure seems out of proportion to your current season. That's why the attacks feel relentless even when you feel like you haven't done anything significant yet. It's because hell saw the blueprint before you did. Hell perceived your arrival before you knew you had arrived. The enemy studies patterns. He recognizes divine fingerprints on people. And when he sees certain qualities, courage, compassion, authority, wisdom, purity, spiritual hunger, he knows those are not common traits. Those are indicators of a rising threat to the kingdom of darkness. He knows that if you step into your full identity, you'll destroy systems he spent years building. He knows that your voice has power, your influence carries deliverance, and your obedience shakes foundation. So his plan is simple. If he can break you in the present, he can block you from stepping into your future. If he can delay you now, he might derail the destiny you've been assigned to fulfill. You must realize the enemy's warfare is never just about survival. It's about sabotage. He wants to sabotage your faith, your relationships, your confidence, your mind, and your connection with God. He tries to poison your vision and fill you with doubt because he knows that a person who believes what God said is unstoppable. If he can get you to quit, question, or compromise, then he never has to face the fullness of what you're carrying. He doesn't want to deal with the anointed version of you. He wants to neutralize you before you activate. The spiritual opposition you face is not an indication that you're failing. It's confirmation that you are a target. And only valuable things become targets. The enemy doesn't waste resources on people who aren't a threat. You are under attack not because you are weak, but because you are dangerous. Not because you're irrelevant, but because you're irreplaceable. The more intense the warfare, the greater the assignment. The more persistent the resistance, the more significant the revelation that's about to be born through you. Some of the people who betrayed you weren't just reacting in the flesh. They were pawns in a spiritual war against your timeline. Some of the depression, confusion, and fatigue you've been fighting are not just emotional. They are strategic attempts to steal your clarity and silence your momentum. The enemy knows that timing is everything in the kingdom. If he can keep you stuck in discouragement, you'll miss divine windows of opportunity. That's why you must discern the attack, not just react to it. You must recognize the pattern and expose the plot. The devil is not omniscient, but he is observant. He's seen what happens when people like you wake up to their identity. He saw what happened when Moses stepped into Pharaoh's court. He saw what happened when David took down Goliath. He saw what happened when Esther opened her mouth. He saw what happened when Jesus refused to bow to temptation. He saw what happened when the disciples walked in the Spirit. And he knows the same power, the same kingdom, the same Spirit now lives in you. That's why your fight is so fierce. You're the continuation of a legacy that has always been a threat to darkness. And here's the truth. Hell doesn't fight what's already his. He only wages war against what has the potential to dismantle his grip. If you weren't meant to shift atmospheres, break chains, build legacies, and transform generations, he would leave you alone. But because you are, he is panicked. That panic is why you're attacked. That panic is why you're tested. That panic is why doors close, relationships shake, and storms come out of nowhere, because you're getting too close. You're waking up, you're rising in authority. You're stepping into a version of yourself that hell cannot control and darkness cannot intimidate. The attacks were never just about silencing you. They were about stopping the ripple effect that your life was designed to release. You're not just carrying a gift, you're carrying impact. You're not just trying to survive, you're positioned to shift systems. And that's what terrifies the enemy. Your influence, your obedience, your voice, your prayers, your alignment with heaven. He knows the power of one surrendered vessel. That's why he tries so hard to confuse your identity, distort your value, and blind you to your potential. But let this truth anchor you. If hell is reacting this strongly, then heaven must be planning something extraordinary. If the enemy is this committed to stopping you, it means your next step is dangerous to his domain. Don't misinterpret the warfare. It's not a sign that you're off track. It's confirmation that you're a step away from divine activation. The enemy can't touch your future, so he wars against your present. But the God who called you is faithful to complete what He began in you. And no scheme of hell can cancel the future heaven has ordained. So hear me today. You were not born to blend in. You were born to take over. You were not placed on this earth to simply exist. You were sent to enforce kingdom dominion. The warfare surrounding your life is the evidence of the weight you carry. You are a vessel of divine influence. You are a solution in human form. You are heaven's strategy wrapped in skin. And though hell may rage and battles may rise, the purpose of God in you is eternal, unshakable, and unstoppable. Don't fear the fight. Understand it. Don't run from the resistance. Stand in it. Because if God authored your assignment, then all of heaven is obligated to fulfill it. You are not a mistake. You are not an accident. You are not underqualified. You are chosen. And when the chosen ones walk in knowledge, hell trembles and heaven rejoices. So rise. Declare war on confusion. Declare war on compromise. Declare war on spiritual amnesia. The kingdom is waiting on you to remember who you are, and when you do, everything around you will change. Because when a chosen one wakes up, the earth feels it, and the spirit realm shifts forever. Chosen one. I'm not here to entertain you. I'm not here to comfort your confusion. I've come to awaken a giant who's been sleeping in chains of distraction. I've come to speak not to your feelings, but to your future. Not to your emotions, but to your assignment. For God's sake, listen right now. Because this is the final step. You don't have time to play anymore. The world is on fire. And you're walking around wondering if you're really called. You are not confused. You are delayed. And if you don't take this step, not only will your destiny suffer, someone else's deliverance will die waiting for your obedience. You were never born to fit in. You were designed to fulfill. That truth is not poetic, it's prophetic. From the moment you entered this earth, your identity carried distinction. Not the kind of distinction that demands attention or applause, but the kind that disrupts average environments. You've always felt different, not because something is wrong with you, but because something divine is right with you. The discomfort you feel in rooms where others blend in is not insecurity. It's a signal that you were never called to adapt. You were called to advance. God does not mass produce. He is not in the business of duplication. He doesn't work like the systems of the world that create templates, molds, and carbon copies. No, heaven customizes. Each chosen vessel is intentionally crafted for a distinct purpose, a unique assignment, a divine mission. The fingerprint on your spirit, your mind, your gift, it's one of one. And the moment you try to conform to the crowd, you betray the code written in your soul. You have to understand something deep. The calling on your life is not optional. It's not a suggestion from heaven. It's a mandate. There's territory only your voice can reach. There are hearts only your presence can heal. There are solutions buried inside your mind that this generation is dying without. That's why the enemy fought you so hard in childhood. That's why rejection came early. That's why confusion tried to cover your identity. Because when something is chosen, hell takes it personally. When you carry purpose, warfare is not a coincidence, it's confirmation. The problem is, because you've always felt out of place, you've interpreted your uniqueness as unworthiness. But being chosen does not mean being perfect. It means being positioned. Positioned to carry weight others can't. Positioned to see what others ignore. Positioned to stand when others fold. You weren't born to go with the flow. You were born to disrupt systems, challenge patterns, and ignite change. Your fulfillment is not in being accepted by men, it's in being aligned with God. That's why your path has never been easy. Favor attracts frustration. Anointing invites attack. When you're chosen, your life gets processed differently. The same fire that destroys the ordinary purifies the chosen. While others are celebrated for blending in, you are refined for standing apart. Your pain wasn't proof of abandonment. It was proof of preparation. Every detour, every delay, every season of silence was designed not to break you, but to build you into the version of yourself that could carry destiny. And let's be honest, trying to fit in hasn't worked. You've tried to minimize your voice to make others comfortable. You've dimmed your light, hoping not to offend those still in darkness. But all it's done is drain you. Because the moment a lion starts acting like a sheep, anxiety becomes inevitable. You were never created to follow the herd. You were created to lead it. But leadership comes with loneliness. It comes with misunderstanding. It comes with a cost. That's why few walk it, but the few who do shake nations. It's time to break out of the prison of public opinion. You weren't selected by culture, you were sealed by covenant. And heaven does not apologize for how it marks its own. You're not too much, you're not overthinking, you're not too deep. You're just not common. And the uncommon always feels uncomfortable in shallow places. You can't shrink into your calling. You have to grow into it. And that means letting go of the need to be liked and grabbing hold of the necessity to be used. Stop asking for permission to be who God already called you to be. Stop explaining your journey to people who were never meant to understand your destination. The chosen don't need to be validated. They need to be activated. Heaven is not looking for those who are impressive. Heaven is looking for those who are available. The earth is not suffering from a lack of talent. It is groaning for the rise of the chosen. The ones who stopped trying to fit and finally started to fulfill. You've been called, you've been marked, and the world doesn't need another imitation. It needs your original obedience. Delay is not denial, but delay without discernment is destruction. That truth might disturb you, but it will also deliver you. Because the chosen don't just need faith, they need timing. Heaven operates on order, and while the call of God on your life is irrevocable, the manifestation of that call is deeply tied to timing, instruction, and alignment. The enemy knows he cannot cancel what God has spoken, so instead he attempts to confuse your sense of timing, because a chosen one outside of divine timing becomes vulnerable to decisions that destroy. Many of God's chosen don't fail because they weren't called. They fail because they moved too soon, or far worse, waited too long. That's the danger of spiritual ignorance. You can carry fire, but if you lack discernment, you'll burn the field instead of planting in it. You can be anointed but still be absent from your assignment because you're busy negotiating with fear, comfort, and second opinion. God is not obligated to honor your feelings. He's committed to His timing. And if you miss that, you may find yourself wandering in a wilderness He never planned for you. Look at the Israelites. Chosen, delivered, equipped, but still delayed. A journey that should have taken 11 days dragged on for 40 years. Why? Not because God changed His mind, but because they couldn't recognize the moment. They saw giants when they should have seen territory. They asked for signs when God was demanding steps. That delay wasn't divine, it was disobedience. And some of you are mistaking disobedience for waiting on God. But God has already spoken. You don't need another confirmation, you need courage. Doing discernment is heaven's gift to those serious about purpose. Without it, delay becomes a death sentence. Opportunities expire, seasons shift, and what was once an open door becomes a memory of what could have been. The painful truth is that some windows don't reopen. You don't get to live in rebellion and still expect revival. God is merciful, yes, but He is not casual about assignments. His timing is tied to people, cities, generations. And when you delay, it's not just your blessing that's on the line, it's someone else's breakthrough. When Samuel came to anoint David, David didn't schedule it, he was just ready. When Jesus called Peter, Peter didn't say, let me pray about it for a month. He dropped the net. But many of today's chosen are still waiting for a convenient moment. Let me help you. God's instructions rarely feel convenient. They are often disruptive, uncomfortable, even offensive to your logic. That's why discernment is critical. Without it, you delay until destruction comes knocking. And yes, delay can look spiritual. You'll cloak it in phrases like, I'm just being patient, or I need more clarity. When in reality, you're just afraid to move. Fear dressed as wisdom is still fear. The chosen don't wait forever. They watch, they listen, and then they move. Because in the kingdom, delayed obedience is disobedience in disguise. If God told you to build, build. If He told you to leave, leave. If He told you to speak, speak. The consequences of delay are not always visible immediately, but they are certain. Discernment is knowing what God is saying now, not last year, not what He said in the past, but now. The Spirit moves in seasons, and if you're not sensitive, you'll be planting in a field God already left. You'll be watering what He's already uprooted. The blessing is not in the delay, it's in the obedience in time. God's will has a rhythm, and you cannot afford to be out of sync. Delay becomes dangerous when it becomes comfortable. Some of you have made your waiting room into a permanent residence. You've decorated it, settled in it, prayed about it, but God never called you to stay there. He called you to move through it. Delay without discernment turns preparation into procrastination. And procrastination for the chosen is not harmless, it's destructive. Your destiny has a schedule, and purpose does not pause forever. Heaven is not asking if you're ready, it's waiting to see if you're obedient. Your pain is not personal, it's prophetic. That statement may sting at first, but when it sinks into your spirit, it will begin to heal what bitterness tried to bury. You've been asking, why me, when heaven has been whispering, because I chose you. What you thought was a punishment was actually a prophetic push. The very thing that crushed you wasn't designed to destroy you. It was heaven's strategy to call you into divine alignment. See, the chosen rarely experience an easy life. There's a cost to being called. When you carry something eternal, your life will be marked by what feels like extreme contradiction. On one side, you feel favored. On the other, you feel forgotten. You have insight, but you're surrounded by confusion. You've got a word from God, but no platform to release it. You know you're called, but you're stuck in a season that looks like chaos. That's because God doesn't train His chosen in public. He trains them in pain. You weren't being punished, you were being positioned. Pain is one of God's sharpest tools. It cuts deep, but it also carves purpose. The crushing was never random. Heaven doesn't waste suffering. Everything you endured was calculated. Every betrayal, every loss, every delay, every sleepless night, it all carried a prophetic assignment. Pain exposes what comfort conceals. And until you were broken, you couldn't hear clearly. Until you were emptied, you couldn't be filled rightly. You were too distracted, too attached, too opinionated. But pain brought you into focus. It was your wilderness. not your end. God doesn't crush what He hasn't called. If He allowed it to break you, it's because He needed to remake you. You were carrying too much ego, too many assumptions, too much fear masked as wisdom. So He allowed the breaking. Not to embarrass you, but to extract the real you, the version that hell fears and heaven requires. Some things don't leave your life until pain walks in, because pain forces a confrontation, not with people, but with you. And here's the mystery. While you were praying for breakthrough, God was using breakdown. Because the thing about prophetic pain is that it often disguises itself as loss while it's leading you into alignment. That job that fell apart, it was redirecting you. That relationship that crushed you, it was uncovering your misplaced identity. That season of being overlooked, it was preserving you from exposure you weren't ready for. The pain felt personal, but it was actually prophetic. It was aligning your life with your assignment. The chosen often confuse the pain of pruning with the pain of punishment. But God prunes what He intends to multiply. If He didn't care, He would have left you alone. But He loves you too much to let you grow wild. So He cut some things, He severed some ties, He shut some doors. And yes, it hurt. But without that cut, you would have stayed stuck. Pain made you pray again. Pain made you listen. Pain made you repent, release, and realign. Prophetic pain always precedes purposeful promotion. Before Joseph ruled Egypt, he was sold into slavery. Before David wore a crown, he hid in caves. Before Jesus resurrected, He bled in Gethsemane. Do not despise the crushing. It is proof that you are carrying oil. That oil, that anointing, only flows from what has been pressed. You thought you were dying, but God was extracting destiny. You thought you were finished, but God was finally starting. What crushed you was never meant to be your grave. It was your gateway. A divine collision between heaven's agenda and your surrendered will. God did not let it break you to bury you. He allowed it to birth something deeper. A version of you that can no longer be manipulated by applause or crushed by rejection. A version that walks with discernment, speaks with authority, and stands in power. So no, your pain was not personal. It was a prophecy in disguise. The final step is not a leap, it's obedience. We often imagine the finish line of destiny as some dramatic, cinematic moment where everything shifts at once. But in the kingdom, the shift doesn't happen through sensation, it happens through submission. God is not waiting for your excitement. He's waiting for your execution. The final step is never about how loud you shout, how much you believe, or how inspired you feel. It's about one simple thing. Did you obey what He last said? Miracles don't follow motivation, they follow instruction. And that's the part that many chosen ones miss. Motivation can move your emotions, but it cannot unlock your next level. You can cry, you can declare, you can even fast, but if you don't obey, you delay. The walls of Jericho didn't fall because the people were excited. They fell because the people followed directions. The Red Sea didn't part because Moses was passionate. It parted because he stretched out his staff when God told him to. The final step is not magic. It's measured obedience to a specific word. That's why the final step is often the hardest, not because it's complex, but because it demands surrender without full understanding. Obedience is rarely glamorous. It usually looks like small, precise, often uncomfortable movements. It's giving when you feel broke, speaking when you feel insecure, walking away when you feel attached, staying still when everything in you wants to run. Obedience tests the part of you that still wants control. It asks, will you trust me when it doesn't make sense. Because God will never compete with your opinion. He will wait for your obedience. But the truth is, many chosen ones keep circling the same mountain because they're waiting for a leap when God already gave them a step. You don't need another prophecy. You don't need another sign. You need to do what God said last. Go back to the last instruction and ask yourself, did I obey it fully? Or did I edit it for my comfort? Partial obedience is still disobedience. Delayed obedience is disobedience in disguise. And God does not bless what He did not instruct. We shout about favor, but favor follows alignment. You want the door to open, but are you even standing at the right door? You want the next season, but have you even completed the current assignment? The final step isn't about hype. It's about honor. Honoring the process, the voice of God, and the details that seem insignificant, because in the kingdom, obedience in the small unlocks authority in the great. You don't conquer Goliath without first submitting to the field and the sheep. It's easier to chase destiny with excitement than it is to sit in obedience with patience. But here's the mystery. The chosen are not elevated by energy, they are elevated by execution. The heavens move at the sound of yes, not the emotional yes, not the temporary yes, but the kind of yes that builds when no one sees. The kind of yes that follows through when fear whispers. The kind of yes that chooses obedience over outcomes. Because sometimes God won't tell you what's next until you finish what's now. You don't need a leap. You don't need a stage. You don't need a crowd. You need obedience. That's where the breakthrough lives. That's where the power shows up. That's where the prophetic becomes practical. Obedience is how you turn revelation into manifestation. It's how the chosen move from being called to being commissioned. The final step doesn't look like a finish line. It looks like a door only obedience can unlock. Isolation is God's incubator for revelation. Before God presents His chosen, He hides them, not to punish them, but to prepare them. If you've been feeling unseen, forgotten, or buried, you're not in a grave. You're in a garden. God doesn't reveal power in public until it's been processed in private. That loneliness you've been resenting is actually the sacred space where God is shaping your voice, your vision, and your value. You've been set apart, not cast aside. The chosen ones are always hidden before they're handed platforms. Moses spent 40 years in the wilderness before confronting Pharaoh. Joseph endured prison before he touched the palace. David was anointed as king, yet returned to the field with sheep. Even Jesus, the Son of God, lived in obscurity for 30 years before his ministry began. Why? Because what is built in hiddenness is what sustains you in exposure. If God put you on display too soon, the weight of public recognition would crush a character not yet refined. Isolation feels like abandonment, but it's really alignment. It's where distractions die and discernment is born. When you're surrounded by noise, it's easy to confuse validation with value. But when God isolates you, He silences every other voice so you can finally hear His. He strips away the opinions, the applause, the comparisons, not because you're unworthy, but because He wants to show you that your identity is not up for public debate, that it was settled in heaven long before anyone knew your name. Many chosen ones sabotage their own development because they rush out of the incubator. They crave exposure more than equipping, but exposure without maturity is a setup for collapse. If you step into visibility before revelation is complete, the platform will magnify your wounds instead of your wisdom. That's why God hides you, not to delay you, but to develop you. You're not missing out, you're being made. And when it's time, no man, no system, No devil in hell will be able to stop the unveiling. Isolation also reveals what comfort conceals. In the crowd you can fake strength. In silence you're forced to confront your inner landscape, the broken thoughts, the deep fears, the buried insecurities. But it's in that raw place that true intimacy for God is birthed. He's not just preparing you for a moment, He's preparing you for a mantle, and mantles are not given to the loudest voice. They're entrusted to the most surrendered heart. Revelation doesn't come to the busy, it comes to the still. This is why God removes people from your life during isolation. You thought it was rejection, but it was protection. Some people can't go where you're going. They were loud in your comfort season, but silent in your crushing season, because God didn't assign them to your becoming. The ones who are supposed to walk with you in purpose will recognize your wilderness and still stay. Everyone else was meant to fall away so you could stop leaning on them and start leaning on Him. In the incubator, God doesn't just give you vision. He gives you strategy. He shows you the blueprint that can't be downloaded from a podcast or a seminar. He gives you heaven's instruction, tailor-made for your voice, your territory, your generation. That's why you felt out of place trying to imitate others. Your anointing wasn't designed to copy, it was designed to consecrate. And consecration only happens in private. The silence of isolation isn't empty. It's sacred. God speaks in whispers there because He's drawing you closer. He's not hiding from you. He's hiding you. Because when the time comes, He doesn't want you recognized for charisma. He wants you known for authority. And authority is not given to the visible. It's given to the obedient. So stop cursing the cave. The cave is your classroom. The silence is your syllabus. The solitude is your strength. When you're finally released, it won't be for applause, it will be for assignment. And by then, you won't crave the spotlight, you'll crave impact. Because revelation born in isolation doesn't seek attention, it seeks transformation. Destiny doesn't respond to emotions, it responds to decisions. You can cry in the cave or walk into the call, but either way, heaven is waiting for your movement. Emotions are real, but they are not reliable. Feelings will fluctuate, but destiny demands focus. You can weep, but after the weeping, you still have to choose. Because tears don't trigger transformation, decisions do. The chosen are not preserved by how they feel. They are propelled by what they decide. If your obedience is tied to your emotional state, you will never walk in consistent purpose. There will be days when you're discouraged, days when the oil feels dry, days when the applause is silent and the warfare is loud. But destiny doesn't pause because you feel tired. Purpose doesn't bend because you feel uncertain. And God doesn't adjust His plan to fit your comfort. He calls you to conform to His will. That's why the final stretch for many chosen ones is not about warfare. It's about willpower. Will you choose to keep showing up when no one claps? Will you choose to speak when fear is screaming louder than faith? Will you choose to build when the resources aren't matching the vision yet? Because your next breakthrough is not waiting for your tears. It's waiting for your yes, a tenacious yes. Heaven doesn't move on pity, it moves on principle. You can pray all day, but if you don't make the decision to walk in what God showed you, the promise will remain potential. Look at Abraham. He didn't just believe, he left. Look at Esther. She didn't just fast, she stepped in. Look at Jesus. He didn't just pray in Gethsemane. He got up and fulfilled the cross. Every move of God in history was marked not just by divine power, but by human decision. Someone had to decide. The cave will always be there. It's the place of process. The place where emotions are loud and clarity feels distant. But the cave was never meant to become your address. You can cry there, but you can't stay there. There comes a point when you have to wipe your face, stand up, and walk forward in faith. Even when you're trembling, even when you don't have all the answers, because destiny doesn't wait for confidence. It honors commitment. And don't confuse delay for direction. Just because you feel stuck doesn't mean you are stuck. Most of the time, the breakthrough is already available. It's just waiting on your decision to act. God already spoke. The word already went forth. The promise already exists. The real question is, will you align your decisions with what He's already declared? Emotions can be indicators, but they're not leaders. You're not called to be led by your feelings. You're called to be led by the Spirit, and the Spirit doesn't cater to comfort. He trains you for dominion. He's not trying to make you feel better. He's trying to make you move better. That's why it's uncomfortable. That's why it costs. Because every major leap in destiny is preceded by a decision that defies your emotions. If you wait to feel strong, you'll stay weak. If you wait to feel ready, you'll stay unprepared. But when you decide to move with what you have, even if it's just 5 loaves and 2 fish, heaven will multiply your obedience. You don't need to feel anointed. You need to decide to walk like someone who is. Because God doesn't anoint the emotional. He anoints the available. And availability is not a feeling, it's a decision. So the next time your emotions scream, sit down, you respond with a decision that says, stand up. Because destiny isn't moved by your tears, it's moved by your choices. So now, hear me and hear me well. You are not random, you are not overlooked, you are not late, you are chosen. But being chosen doesn't mean you wait, it means you move. Not by emotion, not by assumption, but by revelation. The last instruction you received is still speaking. The silence you're in is still sacred. The crushing you endured is still producing oil. And the door you're waiting for, it's already unlocked, it's just waiting for the real you to walk through it. You don't need another confirmation, you need conviction. You don't need more inspiration, you need impartation. God doesn't bless potential, He blesses obedience. And obedience is not an event, it's a lifestyle. You can't walk into kingdom destiny with a democratic mindset. This is not about your feelings, your followers, or your frustrations. It's about your function. And until you step into it, the earth will remain hungry for what you carry. So today, not tomorrow, decide. Decide to obey. Decide to release. Decide to become. Because heaven is not waiting on your excitement. Heaven is waiting on your execution. And when you move, the wind will follow. When you obey, the oil will flow. When you step, the path will open. Not because you felt ready, but because you finally understood. Being chosen is not a title, it's a responsibility. Walk in it. Before I formed you in your mother's womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. That is not poetry. That is protocol. Chosen one, tonight is not just a moment. It is a manifestation. You have cried in silence. You have battled in private. You have been faithful with little. And tonight, heaven echoes the announcement. You've been approved. Heaven doesn't approve what earth selects. Approval comes from assignment. That truth, though simple in phrasing, disrupts the very foundation of how many pursue purpose. In the world, selection is based on performance, presentation, pedigree. Earth is obsessed with image, status, influence. It picks based on visibility. But heaven moves by intention, by design, by purpose. The applause of men never equals the approval of God. Earth may elect a person for a role, but unless that person is aligned with the divine assignment placed on them before birth, their selection holds no eternal weight. That's why you must not confuse popularity with purpose. What looks successful on stage may be disqualified in the spirit, and what's hidden in the cave may carry the weight of heaven. When God assigns a calling to someone, that assignment comes sealed, sanctified, and specific. It cannot be altered by human opinions or cancelled by earthly rejection. You can be overlooked by people and still be chosen by God, and not only chosen, approved. Heaven does not need a committee to confirm your calling. It only looks for one thing: alignment. Not talent, not credentials, not connections, but alignment with purpose. Many have been selected by men, yet they are struggling because they were never assigned by God. And others have been rejected by men, only to be raised by God, because they remained submitted to the reason they were born. Your assignment predates your achievements. That means the assignment is not the result of what you've done. It's the reason you exist. Long before you made a decision, your destiny was declared. You are not an accident. You are not a coincidence. You are a product of divine intention. And if you've ever felt the sting of being passed over, the confusion of being ignored, the pain of being misunderstood, let this truth sink deep. God did not create you to be seen by man before you are shaped by Him. Heaven does not put you on display until it has done its deep work in secret. That's why so many who are called go through crushing. That's why the chosen often feel isolated, because heaven keeps its vassals in hiding until they are properly aligned. There are people who are more visible than you, more celebrated than you, louder than you, and seemingly ahead of you, but don't be deceived. Earth sees charisma, but God looks for character. Earth promotes based on recognition, but heaven approves based on readiness. When you're assigned, your name doesn't have to be known. It just has to be written in the volume of the book that declares your purpose. Heaven is not interested in the masses clapping for a person who is out of place. What God has called you to do is unique, sacred, and tailor-made. And until you align with that assignment, approval is not released. That's why doors remain closed. Not because you are being punished, but because you haven't yet stepped into full agreement with what was spoken over you before time began. Many people chase earthly selection. They want titles, influence, recognition. But when the storm hits, when the trial comes, it is not selection that sustains you, it's assignment. It is the weight of your why that keeps you anchored when the winds of criticism, betrayal, and loss come against you. People will stop clapping, opportunities will shift, but your assignment is eternal. It carries divine immunity against seasons and circumstances. You may be in a place right now where it feels like nothing is happening, like everyone else is getting ahead. But you are not late, you are being aligned. God will not approve what is out of order. He cannot bless what is not submitted. Heaven's stamp comes on what has been placed in position. Assignment protects you from being used by systems that want your gift but don't care about your purpose. Assignment roots you in identity so you are not shaken by rejection. Earth's selection is seasonal. One moment they praise you, the next they crucify you. But when heaven approves, that mark cannot be erased. Even hell recognizes it. The enemy isn't fighting you because of your followers or finances. He's fighting you because of your assignment. Because once you walk in alignment, you become dangerous. You no longer need validation. You no longer compromise. You no longer perform. You simply become. You become the manifestation of the mind of God in the earth. When David was anointed, he was not selected by his father. Jesse didn't even call him to the house. Samuel had to ask, is there another? Because the oil wouldn't flow for the ones earth selected. The oil was assigned, and it waited for the one who was aligned. David didn't need to be seen by the prophet. He only needed to be faithful in the pasture. When you're assigned, heaven will find you, even if earth overlooks you. You don't need to campaign for approval. You don't need to manipulate to get through the door. When you're in alignment, doors open by themselves. Not because of who you know, but because of who knows you. And I'm not talking about earthly names. I'm talking about the one who wrote your name before the foundation of the world. You were approved in eternity, and life is simply catching up. Every season that broke you, every delay that frustrated you, every door that closed, it was God keeping you from being selected for something that would distract you from what you were assigned to. When heaven approves, nothing can stop it. Not the opinions of others, not your past, not your mistakes. Because approval is not about perfection, it's about position. Are you in position to carry what He placed in you? Are you in position to birth what He planted in your spirit? Earth rewards performance, heaven approves obedience. Earth honors image, heaven honors intimacy. If you want heaven's approval, stop striving for attention and start aligning with assignment. Delay is not denial. Tonight is divine timing, not late timing. That statement must sink beyond your ears and into your spirit. Because in the waiting, your heart can grow weary. In the waiting, your mind begins to question the voice you once believed. And in the silence, doubt begins to sound louder than faith. But the truth remains. Delay is not the enemy of your purpose. It is the servant of your preparation. Heaven does not work by your clock. It operates by seasons of readiness, not moments of desperation. You are not being ignored. You are being incubated, not denied, developed. There is a divine difference between not now and never. But if you misinterpret the wait, you'll abandon the journey before the reward is revealed. Heaven's calendar doesn't run on your emotion or impatience. God is not in a hurry to impress you. He's committed to forming you. Because what He has prepared for you is too heavy to hand to someone who is still fragile, too holy to be given to someone who still craves validation. The delay is divine, not because you weren't ready to receive, but because what was being prepared for you wasn't yet ready to receive you. God doesn't just prepare the promise for the person, He prepares the person for the promise. You see, in the realm of the Spirit, timing is everything. The right thing at the wrong time is still wrong. You can't rush kingdom timing. Every delay you've faced, the closed doors, the paused dreams, the waiting seasons were not missteps. They were signs that God is more committed to your becoming than your arriving. And tonight, if you're discerning, you'll realize something has shifted. The delay wasn't wasted. The tears were counted. The time has matured your vision, your voice, and your vessel. People may have moved on. Opportunities may have passed you by. But you weren't left behind. You were set apart. Set apart until your character could match your calling. Set apart until your spirit could carry what your gift attracted. There are some doors that needed time to be unlocked. Not because God couldn't open them, but because what was on the other side required a more mature version of you, and now that version has emerged. You've gone through enough pruning, enough crushing, enough silence. What once looked like delay is now being revealed as strategy. What once felt like rejection was really redirection. God has been working behind the scenes, moving pieces, rearranging circumstances, not just for your arrival, but for your impact. You must understand, heaven is always precise. It does not do random. It does not do late. It does not do convenient. It does intentional. Every second of your life, every divine pause, every hidden season has been building toward this moment. Because when divine timing meets divine approval, manifestation happens without striving. You don't have to force open what God has ordained to swing wide. You don't have to chase what's been assigned. You just have to remain postured, eyes on heaven, heart in obedience, feet in position. Tonight is not just another night. Tonight is a window, a moment in heaven's calendar where the waiting meets the word, when the pressing meets the promise. This is not emotional hype. This is strategic release, and the enemy knows it. That's why your warfare increased right before this moment. That's why hell tried to get you to quit last week, last month, last year. Because the enemy sensed what you didn't see. Your timeline was converging with God's calendar. The night of breakthrough always follows the season of burden. And this right here is that moment. God doesn't delay without purpose. He delays to protect. He delays to prepare. He delays to align you with people you didn't even know you needed, and to remove those who couldn't carry your next. What looked like pause was really providence. And now that you've waited, now that you've endured, now that you didn't quit, tonight isn't late. It's right on time. Heaven has never missed an appointment, and neither have you. You didn't lose time, you gained authority. You didn't miss your moment, you grew into it. Don't let impatience make you walk away from what was always yours. The enemy wants you to confuse divine timing with divine forgetfulness. But God has not forgotten you. He has reserved you. You were on hold, not because you were disqualified, but because the world wasn't yet ready to receive what God has hidden inside you. Think of every biblical figure used mightily by God. All had to wait. Joseph waited in prison. Moses waited in the desert. Jesus waited 30 years for 3 years of ministry. If the Son of God himself had to wait for divine timing, who are we to expect otherwise? The delay trained your discernment. It humbled your ego. It refined your motives. It cut away the excess. It taught you to depend on God and not on applause, not on platforms, not on people. And now you are no longer waiting. You are walking into what waited for you. Everything God promised is now echoing back to you, not as an idea, but as a reality. Because when heaven moves, it doesn't ask for permission. It moves in the fullness of time. And the fullness is now. You are not qualified by credentials, but by calling. That truth alone dismantles every lie the world has tried to speak over you. In a culture obsessed with degrees, titles, experience, and outward appearance, the kingdom of God moves by something deeper, higher, and eternal. Calling. Heaven's choosing does not require earth's permission. You don't need a diploma to be anointed. You don't need a platform to be powerful. You don't need the endorsement of man when you carry the weight of divine mandate. Because when God calls you, He qualifies you. Not after you prove yourself, but before you even understand what's inside you. The world measures value by credentials. It wants to know where you studied, who trained you, what you've accomplished, how many follow you. But God doesn't flip through resumes. He flips through hearts. He is not impressed by human achievement. He is moved by surrendered obedience. When heaven places a call on your life, it bypasses every system that says you're not enough. It skips the line. It overrides the rules. Because kingdom revolution doesn't come through those who are most likely to succeed. It comes through those most willing to obey. Look at the pattern in Scripture. God rarely chose the one who looked the part. He bypassed the seasoned, the polished, the expected. David wasn't even in the lineup when Samuel came to anoint the next king. He was out in the fields, dirty, forgotten, but called. Moses had a stutter. Jeremiah was too young. Gideon was hiding in fear. Paul was once a persecutor. Peter denied Jesus 3 times. Yet, every one of them was handpicked, not because of their credentials, but because of their yes. What man rejects, God often reserves for the most radical parts of his kingdom plan. Rejection is not a sign of deficiency, it's often a sign of destiny. God will allow you to be dismissed by people so you don't become dependent on their approval. He'll make sure the doors you thought you needed to walk through stay locked. Because if they opened, you'd start thinking your strength got you there. But when you have no credentials, no explanation, and no earthly reason to be standing where you're standing, all glory goes to God. The calling of God is disruptive. It breaks the mold. It interrupts the system. And it comes upon those who are least expected. That's how heaven flexes its authority. God gets glory by using the unqualified, so that no one can boast in the flesh. So stop disqualifying yourself based on what you lack. Heaven never needed your qualifications, only your cooperation. Your calling isn't about what you can do, it's about what He has already planned for you to do. And when He calls, He equips. You might be surrounded by people who seem more prepared, more connected, more impressive. Don't let it intimidate you. Heaven does not see as man sees. God doesn't anoint the most obvious. He anoints the most available. And there's a sound that comes from those who know they shouldn't have made it, but did anyway. There is a power that flows from those who know they were once broken, once bound, once overlooked, but were still chosen. That kind of person becomes unstoppable. Not because they're skilled, but because they're sent. When you walk in your calling, doors that should remain closed begin to open. Battles you should have lost start turning in your favor. People who once doubted you start watching you. But don't let that distract you. Remember, it was never about credentials. If you couldn't earn the calling, you can't lose it through imperfection. You are not on probation with God. You are on assignment. And that assignment doesn't require the world's validation. In fact, sometimes the lack of credentials is what makes you usable, because it keeps you humble, dependent, and yielded. Don't waste time trying to impress people God never assigned to your destiny. Don't delay your obedience waiting to feel ready. You'll never feel ready in your own strength. That's the point. God wants you to step in faith, not in comfort, because faith is the currency of the kingdom, not credentials. God doesn't need a perfect vessel. He needs a willing one. And the moment you say yes, He breathes on your yes and turns it into something you could never manufacture with a lifetime of human effort. So stand boldly, not because you're qualified, but because you're called. Speak with authority, not because you have a title, but because heaven gave you a word. Move forward, not because you have a map, but because the one who called you holds the outcome. The people who count you out are not the ones who get to decide what God does through you. When He calls you, it's final. When He chooses you, no system can cancel it. When He appoints you, no earthly rejection can revoke it. You are not where you are by coincidence. You didn't make it this far because you played the system. You're standing here because God decided to use someone who had no business being used, except for the fact that you were called. And destiny is confirmed in the dark, not on the stage. This is a principle that cuts against the grain of how the world views success. The world wants recognition. The world wants visibility. The world wants you to stand on the stage, to be celebrated, to be applauded. But heaven has a different perspective. It understands that real approval happens not in the spotlight, but in the shadows. It's not in the applause of men, but in the silence where your faith is tested, your character is refined, and your resolve is strengthened. Destiny is not birthed in the place of fame. It's forged in the furnace of obscurity. Before your name is called in public, it's been whispered over you in private. Before your robe is worn in the palace, it has been soaked in the sweat of struggle. If you're waiting for the world to confirm your calling, you will be disappointed. The stage is not the place where your destiny is sealed, it's where it's revealed. The approval comes long before the announcement. When Joseph was given the coat of many colors, that was the beginning of his destiny. But he didn't see the fulfillment of that promise in the palace. He saw it in the pit. He saw it in the prison. He saw it when he was forgotten, abandoned, rejected. Joseph was chosen, but it wasn't his robe that confirmed his destiny. It was his character. It was his integrity. It was his ability to hold on to God's word in the darkness. His destiny was confirmed in the places no one saw. It was in the moments of betrayal, loneliness, and adversity that Joseph's identity was solidified. And so it is with you. You might be standing in what seems like a season of darkness, feeling overlooked and underappreciated, wondering if the struggles are ever going to make sense. You might be waiting for the applause, the recognition, the moment when everyone finally sees what God has been building inside you. But let me tell you this, your approval doesn't come from the crowd. It doesn't come from the stage. It comes from the struggle. God is more concerned with who you become in the pit than with how you are perceived on the stage. Because it's in the dark that your foundation is built. It's in the dark that your character is developed. It's in the dark that you learn the strength of perseverance, the power of silence, and the resilience of faith. Joseph's story reminds us that the pit and the prison were not detours from his destiny. They were the necessary processes for him to step into his calling. If Joseph had been immediately placed in the palace, he would have been ill prepared for the weight of his assignment. The pit taught him humility. The prison taught him patience. The isolation refined his faith. Those dark seasons were not punishment. They were preparation. And every moment of rejection, every moment of pain, every moment of waiting was an appointment with destiny. It was where Joseph's character was being shaped, where his integrity was being tested, and where his trust in God was being made unshakable. So don't despise the dark seasons of your life. Don't look at the struggle as a sign of failure or abandonment. The dark is where your destiny is being confirmed. The struggle is not a setback. It's a setup for the stage. The process is not your punishment, it's your promotion. What you are going through right now, the silence, the solitude, the waiting, is not wasted. God is using it to strengthen your foundation so that when your moment on the stage comes, you'll be able to carry the weight of the calling with grace, wisdom, and power. The applause of men cannot validate you if your foundation is weak. The light of the stage cannot sustain you if you've not been tested in the dark. Your destiny is not formed in the eyes of the world. It's formed in the hidden places, in the moments when no one is watching, when no one is clapping, when no one even knows your name. It's in the place where you have to choose to believe God even when it doesn't make sense. It's in the place where you have to trust that God is working, even when you can't see it, feel it, or understand it. It's in the pit that your heart is refined, in the prison that your faith is made solid, and in the darkness that your calling is confirmed. Tonight may feel like a stage moment. You may feel like it's your time for recognition, your time for breakthrough, your time for everything to come to light. But let me remind you, the approval has already been given. Your destiny was confirmed long before tonight. The struggle was not a detour, it was the preparation. The dark was not abandonment, it was the proving ground. You were never alone in the dark. God was shaping you, refining you, and getting you ready for this moment. And now, as you step onto the stage, you don't step in pride or arrogance. You step in humility, knowing that the true approval came in the pit, in the prison, and in the silence. The world will see the robe, but heaven sees the heart, and heaven has already approved you. When God approves, no system can deny. This is a truth that should empower you in moments when the world's systems seem to be working against you. Earthly systems, institutions, and opinions, they may try to limit you, contain you, or disqualify you, but they bow to the weight of divine mandate. There is a power greater than any man-made structure, greater than any human opinion. It is the authority of heaven itself. And when heaven places its seal of approval on your life, no earthly rejection can stand in its way. The systems of this world are nothing in comparison to the sovereign will of God. Think about the systems of this world: governments, organizations, societal structures, educational institutions, and even religious systems. These entities often decide who gets access, who gets promoted, and who gets validated. They set the standards, create the rules, and determine the opportunities available to people. But all of these systems are limited. They are finite. They are man-made, subject to flaws, biases, and imperfections. They operate on the basis of what is seen, of what is possible in human understanding. They cannot comprehend the fullness of God's plan for your life. They are not equipped to assess your destiny because they are not governed by divine authority. When God approves you, these systems are powerless to deny you. The world's systems work on human merit, experience, credentials, and approval. They determine your worth by what you can do for them or by how well you fit into their structures. But God's system is different. His approval is not based on what you have or haven't achieved. It's based on the calling He has placed on your life, the purpose He has ordained for you before the foundation of the world. God's approval does not depend on earthly systems. When He calls you, He qualifies you. And no system, no institution, no human agenda can stand in the way of what God has destined for you. Look at the lives of biblical figures who were approved by God but rejected by earthly systems. David, the youngest of his brothers, was rejected by his own family and overlooked by the prophet Samuel. Yet God had already chosen him to be king. Joseph was rejected by his brothers, betrayed and cast into a pit, then imprisoned in a foreign land. Yet God's approval on his life was so strong that no system of slavery, prison, or palace could deny him. Esther was an orphan in a foreign land, living under a system that valued her beauty but not her worth. Yet, by divine favor, she was chosen to be queen and used to save her people. These were all men and women who, in the eyes of the world, had no reason to succeed. But when God approves, earthly circumstances change. When God approves, even the most entrenched systems must bow. It's not that God's approval negates the existence of systems. It's that it overrules them. The Bible tells us that the heart of the king is in the hand of the Lord. Proverbs 21:1. In other words, even the most powerful earthly rulers are subject to God's will. What may seem like an obstacle an institutional roadblock, or a system designed to hold you back is in reality a stepping stone to what God has already ordained for you. When God approves, He moves mountains, He opens doors, and He causes favor to flow from the most unexpected places. Heaven's seal renders earthly rejection irrelevant. Now, this doesn't mean that you won't face resistance. It doesn't mean that systems won't try to impose their will on you. But what it does mean is that the resistance you face is temporary, because God's plan is eternal. The opposition you encounter is not the final word. Heaven's approval is the final word. If God is for you, no system can be against you. The very systems that once rejected you are the very platforms God will use to elevate you. And when God opens a door, no man can shut it. This is why it is critical to stay aligned with God's purpose, even when the systems of the world seem to be working against you. People may misunderstand you, institutions may ignore you, and the systems may try to put limits on you. But if God has called you, if He has approved you, then no earthly rejection can block your path. God's approval breaks through every barrier, shatters every limitation, and changes every circumstance. Heaven's mandate overrides any human-made decree in every area of your life. Whether it's your career, your ministry, your relationships, or your personal dreams. Don't let the world's systems dictate your destiny. When God approves, no system can deny. Trust in His process. Trust in His timing. Trust in His divine mandate over your life. You are not subject to the limitations of earthly systems. You are aligned with the limitless power of the Creator. And when He says yes, everything else must bow. This is not a breakthrough. This is a reveal. Tonight is not just about you receiving something new. It's about you stepping into what has already been placed inside of you. What is happening right now is not the creation of something that didn't exist before. It is the unveiling of something that has always been there. You're not just getting a miracle tonight. You are the miracle being revealed. What God is doing is not about bringing something into existence, but about pulling back the veil so that the world can see what He has already placed in you. Too often we equate breakthroughs with something new being created, a new opportunity, a new connection, a new blessing. And while those things are wonderful, what God is doing in your life is different. He's not just giving you something you've never had. He's revealing what He has already given you. He's not working to create a new version of you. He's revealing the version of you that has always been in His plan. The greatness inside you was never absent. It was simply hidden, waiting for the appointed time to be made manifest. When God reveals something, it's like unveiling a masterpiece that's been under wraps, waiting for the perfect moment to be exposed. You are the masterpiece. You are the divine work that God has been preparing all along. Everything you've gone through, every struggle, every setback, every delay, has been a part of the process of revealing what God has already placed inside you. The circumstances you thought were distractions were actually the divine conditions for your unveiling. The challenges you faced were not detours from your destiny. They were the necessary preparation for the world to see the greatness within you. This isn't a breakthrough in the way the world defines it, as a sudden external change. This is a reveal, a divine uncovering, a pulling back of the curtain so that others can see what God has been working on in secret. It's like a sculptor chiseling away at a block of marble to reveal the statue that was always hidden inside. The statue doesn't appear suddenly. It's been there all along. It just needed to be unveiled. Similarly, the potential, the purpose, the greatness inside you has always been there. Now it's time for it to be revealed. This divine unveiling is not about new creation. It's about new revelation. It's about you coming into the fullness of who God has always known you to be. Every lesson you've learned, every trial you've overcome, every tear you've shed has been a part of preparing you for this moment of revelation. It's not that you've changed or become something new. It's that you are stepping into the fullness of what has always been ordained for you. You're not becoming a new creation in the sense of something entirely different. You're revealing the creation that God had in mind for you from the beginning. You may feel like you're just now stepping into your purpose, but what's really happening is that you're aligning with the divine timing and circumstances that allow what's always been within you to come to the surface. The people around you may be amazed at your transformation, but it's not truly a transformation. It's a revelation of who you've always been. The world may see a miracle unfolding before their eyes, but to God, it's not a surprise. He's been waiting for this moment, the moment when everything hidden would be revealed, the moment when you would fully step into the fullness of your calling. This is the moment when the work that God began in you before the foundation of the world is now coming to fruition. This isn't about a random miracle happening in your life. This is about the moment when the world sees the fullness of the work God has been doing in the hidden places, in the secret moments, in the quiet spaces of your heart. You've been prepared, you've been processed, you've been developed, and now what has been hidden is being revealed for all to see. So don't focus on what you don't have or what hasn't happened yet. Don't focus on the gaps, the empty spaces, or the things you think you need to complete you. God is not creating something new in you tonight. He's revealing what has always been there. You are the miracle being unveiled. The breakthrough you've been waiting for is not about the circumstances around you changing. It's about you stepping into the fullness of who you were always meant to be. The God is not simply doing something for you, He is doing something through you. You are not the same person you once were. The trials and the struggles have refined you. The waiting has strengthened you. And now, the world is about to see the miracle that has been inside of you all along. You're not just receiving a blessing. You are the blessing being revealed. You are the living testimony of God's power, His timing, and His perfect plan. What has been hidden is now being brought to light. And what God has placed inside you is about to be unleashed for His glory. Tonight is not just a breakthrough, it is a divine unveiling. And as you step into the fullness of your purpose, know that the world is about to see the miracle that you have always been. Tonight you are not merely stepping into a breakthrough, you are stepping into a revelation. The world will see what God has already placed inside of you. The challenges, the struggles, the seasons of waiting, they were not in vain. They were the divine process preparing you for this moment, this unveiling. The miracle is not coming through you. And as you stand in the light of your divine calling, know that no system, no rejection, no delay, no struggle can take away what God has already approved in you. So walk boldly, walk confidently. The approval of heaven has already sealed your destiny, and the reveal is happening now. What the world thought was hidden, what even you thought was lost, is now being made manifest for all to see. This is your time, this is your moment. And as you step forward, know this, the world is about to witness the miracle of who you were always meant to be. You are not just a conqueror. You are the living testament of God's greatness. The approval of heaven is upon you, and with it, nothing can stop what God has set in motion. This is your reveal, and nothing will ever be the same again.